hold on tight. The champ is here. Mikey is raising the roof. He is loving it.
Let's be real for a second.
Let's be real. I'm excited to be real today. Mikey, we're now explain yourself.
I don't hate Russell Wilson.
Todd hates T.Y. Hilton. I know why he likes Nick Foles. Do you know why? Because he scored 55 points against them in the championship game last year.
Running backs in Andy Reid's system is just fantasy gold mine. Sign me up there, man.
Yeah, and he's passing for 1,000 too because his offensive weapons are shit.
Maybe. Oh, my God. I can't even believe this, Eric. Todd comes out with some outlandish shit.
Come on.
But that one wins the night.
You deserve the torture of watching those games if you get them.
There's a problem with all those names. None of those guys are good.
Exactly. That's my point. That is 100% my point.
Hey. All I'm saying. Hey, I'm a very unique individual. You know, that's the.
I'm sure all the owners think so.
Oh, man. Just when I think that they're out, they pull me back in.
It's a great day to have an MHA podcast. Hopefully a step in the right direction of normalcy in this crazy, chaotic world of 2020. On today's show, I actually have the guys right here in the same room. Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, fantastic.
I'm putting my mask on.
Who's got COVID? Oh, man, we all got it. It's too late now. You had dinner. Once you have food and spitting, and it's too late. It's too late. But it's good to have you guys here and talk some football. Football season's not that far away.
Yeah,
You're not going to talk with the mask on, are you?
Why not?
It might muffle the sound a little bit. Maybe we don't want to hear what you have to say, but we'll see. We'll see about that. But, yeah, you guys excited? It's like 2 weeks. It's like 2 Thursdays, and then we'll have football again.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Didn't think it would happen, but here we are.
Here we are. And it's no preseason games, though. That's kind of one of the news things we'll talk about. There's no preseason games. So how does that affect things for fantasy, if anything?
It definitely affects it a little bit. I mean, you don't want to base everything on preseason because some player can have a great preseason and then you draft them really high and then they just stink it up the rest of the way. So preseason's not all the be all, but it does help a little bit. But not having it this year, you definitely just have to kind of just base it off of last year and numbers, everything like that. So
I think it makes the draft really interesting. I also think it makes the first 3 to 4 weeks really interesting because you're going to be missing information that you normally would have. Mm-hmm. So, there's going to be running backs, receivers, tight ends that maybe break out during the preseason that you get to see and hear about that you're not finding out about until they actually step on the field in the regular season. So it's going to be really important to really watch that waiver wire and pick up the right guys in those first coming weeks. It's going to play a big difference.
Yeah, especially with, and obviously because if somebody tests positive for COVID, that waiver wire can be your best friend.
Sure, but I think when you're talking about like position battles, especially with these rookies, right? I think a lot of people have to realize that these rookies, while they're getting practice, there's nothing like a real game. And even with these rookies some of them may get first quarter reps or maybe second quarters, but maybe most of the time the rookies are getting kind of seeing the backups, but it's still reps. They're trying to win a job just like they're trying to win a job, and so there's still a lot of action. So does that make you guys want to lower your rankings on rookies in any position, not just necessarily we're going to talk about wide receivers, but in any position are you guys worried about it?
Somewhat. I mean, the lack of an off season kind of gets you, that fear in you that you don't know. I mean, there's a lot of running back battles that I'm kind of curious to how they play out, which we'll talk about in our running backs show. But receivers, not so much, because I with a lot of these receivers, I think the teams that took them really needed them and kind of had like their roles set as far as where they wanted to play them. So for me, it's more worried about running backs versus receivers when it comes to the rookies.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mikey on that point. I mean, the wide receiver class was so deep this year anyway, and some of them were so talented anyway, so a lot of that talent can overshadow a little bit of their, kind of getting used to the NFL game kind of thing.
These guys aren't going to get hit until they are in the middle of an actual game where it matters. And so for those guys that haven't really been hit, I don't think you actually get hit in practice. Yeah. I know like the pads were put on at some point just like maybe a week ago. What is today's date? Is it the 21st? Yeah, we should mention August 21st is when we're recording this podcast. But man, it's just there's nothing like getting hit in your first game. And so to not have that, it definitely makes me waver on rookies a little bit in terms of at least position players. So keep that in mind as we get ready to draft here in a couple weeks. Draft is coming up on the 6th. We're going to have it online really for the first time in a long time, since maybe the early days of 2001 and 2 and 3 when it was just online because we didn't really understand what we were getting into. And then we've had a live draft forever. People you guys will come over and hang out, but everybody else will be online because everybody else has got COVID and disgusting virus. I don't want Miles or Dylan in my house. No, they can stay at their house. But no, it'll be interesting. I think we're still going to do kind of the Google draft thing. I talked to a couple owners, and they prefer to do that as opposed to like what we did for baseball is we just did it on the website, and it went quicker, and maybe that's good for some. But with football, there's less position. What we do, like 35 rounds by accident for baseball.
Yeah.
That took a little long. That was my fault, not having done that before. But we're not going to have as many rounds, so it'll be fun. So this is what you're supposed to do as an owner: listen in, see what we have to say, and then be ready for research here in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Some other news.
To me, the most amazing thing about the news is that whatever goes on in the world, it exactly fits the number of pages that they're using in the paper that day. Interesting contrast.
So we mentioned the preseason. This is the one that I've been waiting to talk to Mikey about today. How about that Jared Stidham, who hasn't been getting reps? He's dealing with a leg injury. Bring on the lottery ticket. Cam Newton, scratch it off. See what we're going to get this year. Is Cam Newton going to win the job now?
He might. I mean, who knows at this point? I always love the part about Belichick is that I think he never wants you to know what he's planning on doing. Like I heard a couple days ago, he's saying that he could platoon the position and possibly play both of them. I don't think he'll do that, but he just likes messing with people.
What is this, college? I mean, I only seen platoons like in college when they do with the quarterbacks. There's no way in the NFL they'd ever do that. Like, well, I mean, he has 6 rings. I mean, anything is possible, but still.
6 rings with 1 quarterback.
Sure.
Realistically, Cam's the better quarterback than Stidham.
True.
Okay.
Or would they go Hoyer?
That's all I wanted to hear from you. Mikey was big on the show saying, no, he doesn't think that Cam Newton might win that job. I think he's going to win it now. How about another oldie, but a goodie? How about Des Bryant trying to get back in the NFL? Hanging out with the Ravens. It sounds like he didn't get a contract when he was there, but if he signs with the team, anybody going to draft him late? Another lottery ticket?
It's a good offense. You never know. I don't know what he's got left. It's been, 3 years since he's last played?
He hasn't played a game since 2017.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. What's with the Ravens? Antonio Brown, Des Bryant.
Well, they're trying to win that Super Bowl.
Yeah, well,
and they're not going to cost anything.
True.
If anything, they're going to be on their best behavior because they know they'll be out the door because they're not going to be that productive, but they could bring some leadership, maybe win you a game here or there. You never know.
I hear T.O. Chad Ochocinco, incredible shape right now, I'm sure. You want to give them a tryout.
I'll take Chad Ochocinco.
I mean, I would take Terrell Owens if he just wasn't such a nutcase. That's all.
They're all nutcases. But I think as a wide receiver, you kind of have to be – there's got to be a little nutcase in you.
Just because of, like, your athleticism.
I mean, Michael Irvin, nutcase, right?
Randy Moss,
nutcase. Yeah.
But
maybe Jerry Rice was the only one that wasn't. But I mean, that he obviously came. His story's different. He came from a low-end Division II school. Yeah, so
Division One AA actually.
There you go.
There you go. So, or FCS
now. And the only other news I had, I mean, there's a lot of injuries going on. We saw about Tyreek Hill, but he walked off on his own power. Melvin Gordon, it seemed like he's okay. He's day-to-day. I heard something about Zach Ertz and an upper body injury, but it seems like it's nothing crazy. I haven't heard anything wild yet. I haven't heard anything about COVID cases, so everybody keep your eyes on that. One thing I sent in the email is if we should expand benches or IR slots for COVID. We usually don't do IL or an IR. I think it's IR for football because usually when someone's an IR, they're pretty much out for the whole season. Now there's some that I guess come back late, but I don't think we implement an IR spot. If the website allows, if Yahoo allows us to put COVID people on IR, should we include 2 or 3 of those?
I'm not sure about 2 or 3. Like, especially 3 seems excessive to me.
Really? I mean, if there's an outbreak and you got to pick up some dudes. Now, I think our benches are already big enough. I know Mikey would take 10, 15 bench spots, but our benches are 8, so I don't think we need to expand those. But do we have to give the owners a feeling that they need to have a backup at every position in case their starting quarterback gets it?
I guess maybe. Like if they're distinguished, like if the slot's distinguished as a COVID spot that you can use for only COVID, then I think I'm all right with it.
Yeah. I mean, if it's injury, you got to just go find the replacement.
Bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet. So does that make you guys, while I have you, Aaron, does that make you want to have a backup at every position? Maybe you wouldn't have a backup at tight end. Maybe you wouldn't have a backup at quarterback if Mahomes is your dude. Does that make you want to have one in case something happens that Sunday where it's like, guess what? Such and such has COVID. Now you have to make a decision.
I think I think I'm just going to draft like I normally do, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I don't want to have that thought in my head and then it just makes me do something that I don't want to do just because of that.
Okay, but maybe it's not at the draft, but if it's week 1 or week 2 and there's a tight end that maybe you like, do you take out that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th running back to put in tight end number 2? Does it just depend on the player?
It depends on the player, but like I always find myself like, especially at the beginning of the season, debating, do I drop this guy? I hold on to him. I had some hopes for this guy. So I don't know. For me, I'm just going to stay with it, I think, until one of my guys actually gets sick, and then I'll panic.
Well, you hope they figured out before game day. But, I mean, the virus is 100%, right? I mean, it hasn't really lost that much. It's still thriving in today's world. So if you get that COVID, you find out at 10:30. I mean, it's so weird in how it works in terms of testing. You don't know when you're going to, like, when do they test and when do the results come? Is it going to be faster to this point? Are they not going to know until an hour before the game? I don't know. I'm assuming this has all been figured out. People way above my pay grade and figuring stuff out like that. But that's just something to think about as we get closer. Any other news that you guys saw? Anything that you guys are interested in talking about?
No, just all that Broncos injury and the.
Todd's really worried about all the Bronco injuries.
Yeah, news is hard to come by right now.
Well, but I mean, when I and the other rookie, KJ Handler, he's out for a few weeks as well too. But I mean, I don't know.
Are we really drafting KJ Hamler? Todd is apparently.
Hey, I love those three. I love those three. Those third string, fourth string wide receivers. You know.
And for what Todd said a couple weeks ago, Drew Lock is going to throw for more than 35 touchdowns this season.
Yeah.
He still agrees with it. Okay. We're going to keep moving along here. So as we mentioned, we're going to talk about wide receivers. There's a lot of wide receivers to talk about, so we're probably already behind, but we'll get through as much as we can, and we'll do other shows as well. But let's start things off with some MHA trivia.
All right, Brain. You don't like me, and I don't like you. But let's just do this, and I can get back to killing you with beer. It's a deal.
And since it's the wide receivers episode, you guys ready for this? You guys have been pretty disappointing so far. Mikey's done all right in a couple of them, but Todd, you need to step up your trivia game.
I know. As much stuff as I study, I know. I know.
So just think about that. Next time, so when we do our running backs and then if we do a tight end episode, that's probably where the MHA trivia is going to be. So here we go. Have you ever guys played The Feud before? Family Feud? You know how this game works?
It's like the Steve Harvey version?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're very familiar? Do I need to go over the rules? I'll go over the rules for those who don't. There you go.
Let's play The Feud.
We'll get Keenan Thompson to play. He'll come up here and do the trivia. All right, so in terms of how it's played, there are 7 answers on the board.
Okay.
So I'll ask the question, and whoever says their name first, that's your buzzer, your name. So I'll tell you the question. You tell me, you just say, Todd, if you think you know the answer.
Okay.
Whoever gets it, whoever I felt chimed in first, I'll give them first crack at the answer. If they get the number 1 answer, they can decide to play, which means they could try to guess the rest of the 7, but they do have 3 strikes.
Okay.
If that person who won decides to pass, it'll make the other person try to get the rest of the answers in 3 chances. Okay. Does that make sense? And so for example, let's say Mikey gets the right answer, number 1. He can decide to try to get the rest of the 6 with 3 strikes, which means he gets 3 chances. Let's say he doesn't get it in 3 strikes. It'll go to Todd, who only needs to get 1 of the ones he hasn't answered to try to win the game. Does that make sense? Did I explain that correctly?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so here we go. As I mentioned, there are 7 answers on the board.
Okay.
We are a PPR league, so receptions are incredibly important. But in order to get the receptions, you got to have those targets. So with 7 answers on the board, who are the leaders in targets in 2019? Well, Fine. Todd smacked the table. I said to say your name, but
sorry.
That's right. Mikey didn't do anything. So tell me who led the leaders in targets for wide receivers in 2019.
All right. Mike Evans.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Mikey, you want to give an answer?
Man, you're off to a bad start.
Well, that's just my lot in life.
So I'm going to stay with a Mike and go Michael Thomas.
That is correct. In fact, he is number 1. He had 185 targets in 16 games. Mikey, do you want to play or would you like to pass?
That's tough. I got to guess 6.
There are 6, yep. That is a lot.
Ton.
But that's a challenge for you, and you like challenges. I put Mikey on the spot there. I'm trying to save you, Todd.
I want to give Todd a chance.
Okay, so he's passing to Todd.
All right.
You're not cheating, are you?
No.
Is he cheating over there? I can't look at his computer. Make sure he's not cheating.
All right.
I mean, he does have a page up.
If he has his notes, I'm fine. But he can't be like on our Yahoo
They're on
page.
ESPN's notes.
Oh, you son of a gun.
There,
Cheating.
Here's my note. Well, I said Mike Evans first, so.
I guess that's true. All right. So
okay.
Well, then you're bad at reading.
All right. Okay.
So go ahead. You have to guess.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Devontae Adams.
I'm sorry, Ant. That is 1X. Devontae Adams did not
Really?
make. Well, you got to remember, he was injured at the beginning of the
You want me to
year.
make the sound for you, Todd?
Mikey.
1 strike. You got to
Alright.
give me another guess. Still have 6 left.
Chris Godwin.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's incorrect. Thank you, Mikey. 1 more strike. You still have 6 to go. Are you looking at your notes right now?
I'm just looking at the wide receivers with no.
I mean, like I said, if you have your notes, I mean, if that's your notes, that's your own fault. Because in my notes, it has my targets on.
Okay. DeAndre Hopkins.
That is correct. Well done. He is number 5. He had 150 targets in 15 games. So there are 2 off the board, and you still, have 5 left to go. Just trying to do the quick math in my head. Give me another wide receiver, Todd.
Tyreek Hill.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's incorrect. Remember, he was injured for a lot of last year.
For
So that is Mikey.
All right.
No, I wanted the X.
Oh.
Thank you. It doesn't work. You got to have the X. Like, I was just going to put him in myself later, but I like your X's better. So, Mikey, you only need 1 to win the game, and you have 5 possible answers on the board.
Okay, I'm going to go DJ Moore.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's incorrect, and Todd wins. DJ Moore, that's incorrect. Oh, my goodness, you guys. So Todd won the game. Congratulations, Todd.
Yeah.
How does he win? He didn't even guess one right.
That's how the rules work. I didn't make
I
it.
guessed 1 right.
He got 1.
I got 1.
So I'm going to go through these pretty
Okay.
quickly. We mentioned Michael Thomas. There's no surprise he was number 1 at 185. Number 2 is Julio Jones, who had 157 in 15 games. Let me go back. We mentioned Michael Thomas finished first. Julio Jones had 157 targets. He ended up finishing 5th overall in our point system. Allen Robinson was 3rd, guys.
Allen Robinson,
154 in 16 games. He actually finished 14th amongst all wide receivers. How about Julian Edelman? 153 targets, 16 games. He finished 6th. I was pretty surprised when I saw that. 6th in our scoring system. You guys surprised?
Well, that's the only. I mean, who else was Tom Brady going to throw the ball to? I mean, every other wide receiver was dropping passes.
But you guys answer all these other players, and he was above all of them. He was above Mike Evans. He was above DJ Moore.
Hey, it was a mistake.
Well, I'm not bashing your mistake. I just think it's amazing that the numbers he put up last year. I don't think we give that enough credit.
But I just think he being the really only option in that offense, and that's who Tom Brady trusts the most. So I would.
But apparently you don't trust Tom Brady because you didn't get Julian Edelman.
And he did play 16 games. How many times has that happened?
And not very often. So we mentioned Hopkins. He was 5th. He had 158 targets in 15 games. He finished 2nd overall. Keenan Allen finished 6th with 149 targets in 16 games. He finished 7th overall in our system. And Tyler Boyd, 148 targets in 16 games, finished 17th. So while it's important to get 16 games under your belt, because you're going to get a lot of targets, you may not finish near the top in terms of points, but you'll be up there for sure. All right, here's a cool bonus question. So Mikey, it's whoever says it first. I'm not going to beep or whatever, but here's a chance for Mikey to tie Todd up. So here's your bonus question. There was one wide receiver last year who played in 17 of the possible 16 games. Who was it?
That was Eric's boy, Emmanuel Sanders.
How cool is that? I didn't even realize that until I was going through my stats and saw 17 games, and I remembered he got traded, so he didn't see a bye week last year. and he still stinks. So go figure that. So let's get into this wide receiver talk, and we'll start. We know who number one is, right? Is anybody else not have Michael Thomas? Mikey, looking at you.
No, I had Michael Thomas.
Sometimes you like to go the other direction.
I'm not contrarian for the sake of being contrarian.
Michael Thomas. So he's our number one. That's consensus here amongst the three. Where's Kitty? Does he agree that Michael Thomas? He's probably sulking somewhere. But who's number two? So what my question was, So who's the number two wide receiver off your list? Anybody can go.
I have Devontae Adams.
And tell me why is that?
Because he's the only weapon besides Aaron Jones in that offense for Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers trusts him more, and he gets probably the most targets on that team, and that's why I picked him.
How many targets did he have last year? Let's go back to the targets. Oh, now you're gonna go look it up. It's not in your notes.
It's right in front of me.
It's right in front of you. I didn't see any numbers next to those guys. Well,
I just have my rank 127.
All right, very good. Mikey, is he your number two? No, he's going somewhere else. Who's your number two?
I'm going with DeAndre Hopkins.
Really?
Yes.
DeAndre Hopkins, brand new team, brand new quarterback, brand new system. Tell me why.
I like his fit over there. I really do. Nice pass-heavy offense. I think the biggest difference is they're just more likely to pass. I mean, he's going to see his targets go through the roof. He shouldn't see as many double teams as he was in Houston when he was the only guy given the injuries to Will Fuller. I like his touchdown opportunity there too. And it's so important with a lot of these guys with touchdowns and red zone targets. I like that fit in Arizona.
Does that mean you feel pretty confident in Kyler Murray, the young quarterback, second year? The NFL has had a year or an offseason to look over tape. That doesn't concern you?
I don't like their offensive line. I think I said that in the last show, but I think Kyler Murray, it's second year in the system. I think he's going to be better.
Is it also a fact of Hopkins has played with crappy quarterbacks before and still put up good numbers?
No, he's just a really good receiver. I mean, I think he's proven that year after year after year.
He finished second in our system in points with 207, 104 catches, close to 1,200 yards, 7 TDs. He also had a passing touchdown, apparently. Been pretty durable. Is there a reason why you like him over Devontae Adams? Is it back to the offense that Matt LaFleur runs?
That is part of it. For me, he's just going to get more opportunities. And I think there's going to be more of a consistency level there with Hopkins.
In terms of consistency, I mean, how many targets are you projecting? I mean, they still have Christian Kirk. They still have Larry Fitzgerald. Kenyon Drake can catch the ball. And they also have Chase Edmonds who can catch the ball. Whereas Adams for Green Bay – Alan Lazard, their rookie tight end that's escaping me right now. Aaron Jones catches like about 50 balls, maybe 70 targets from him. It seems like the targets for Adams could be in the like 130s, 140s, where it could be 110 or 120 for Hopkins.
I find that doubtful.
Really?
I think Arizona is going to be a team where you're going to see Kyler Murray. It's going to, attempts-wise, be around 30 plus every game. I don't know how many times Aaron Rodgers is going to hit that number.
Sure. But I mean, the thing with Murray is that he likes to run a little bit too himself.
Sure.
So I think that takes away some of the targets.
But in my rankings, when you see it, this is the year that I kind of think Larry Fitzgerald's a little bit of an afterthought.
No, that's been Mikey's guy for like 10 years.
Yep. Larry Fitzgerald, Mr. Consistency for sure.
He was the last wide receiver I ranked on my list.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where the dip happens.
Okay.
Right now, I don't think Hopkins is going to have anything to worry about when it comes to targets.
Okay. Just for the record, I had Adams too, and just kind of the reasons why I mentioned while they're not going to be pass heavy, he had 127 targets in 12 games. So if you just add 4 more games, that's going to be in the 150s if you're mapping that out conventionally, conservatively, excuse me. So I still think he's going to – and he's the only guy. I mean, when he came back and he was healthy, he was pretty unstoppable last year, even despite that. So I'm still excited for Adams at number 2. The next question I asked you guys was give me a wide receiver outside of the top guys. And so outside like Adams, Jones, and Hill, that could be this year's number 1 wide receiver. Todd?
I'll go Amari Cooper.
Really?
Definitely in that Dallas offense now. Kind of basing it off of, with Dak having kind of a chip on his shoulder, and Cooper immediately when he came to Dallas a year ago or 2 years ago, he showed flashes like he didn't skip a beat. So I have Cooper ranked 8th in my rankings, but I think he could definitely climb up that ranking. And in fact, too, that they have CeeDee Lamb as a rookie, so that'll take might take some of those double teams away from Cooper. So
what about the targets, though? In order to be like a top guy, you got to get a lot of targets, right? We saw 185 for the Saints offense because he's really the only guy. I'll even say that with Emmanuel Sanders on the opposite side, but that's just because of my dismay for him. But, I mean, does that concern you to think that – and I know this is a hypothetical. It's a guy that could – I'm not trying to, nitpick your guys' answers or anything, but that's something to think about. I mean, Gallup was pretty good at moments last year. Witten's gone. Cobb's gone, so there's definitely targets to be had.
Yeah, but I think just Dak.
But you just like his talent.
Yeah, because it's the same thing with my argument with Devontae Adams to some degree. I mean, obviously I know it's different. Adams is pretty much the only guy there, but I think it's more of the trust factor. And I know sometimes that doesn't always. You don't look at those numbers. You look at that factor when you're into fantasy, but that definitely does makes a difference when it comes to the target share sometimes, because the fact that CeeDee Lamb. They drafted CeeDee Lamb, and he's got that talent, but also he's also a rookie wide receivers, like we've talked before in the past, that it takes them a little bit longer to get things going. And I just think Cooper, Cooper is that main target. I think regardless. I mean, obviously they'll probably try to spread the ball around as well, but I think Cooper will still get. I think at least get 100 to 130 to 160 targets. I think.
It's a lot of targets.
And I think that would be ideal, even with the running game and all that stuff. So that's why I'd go with Cooper.
What do you think, Mikey? A guy that was kind of outside of the top guys that could be the number 1 overall wide receiver. It's a tough task because Thomas has been so good.
Well, I kind of wanted to save mine because we're getting ready to talk about him.
Okay.
Because my guy's Chris Godwin.
Okay. Well, I mean, that'll be a kind of a lead-in. I kind of did this Seinfeld. What's the deal?
What's the deal with homework? You're not working on your home.
What's the deal? I don't know. My voice can't go as high as Seinfeld, so maybe I'll just put in a.
What's the deal?
There you see. Well, there you go. Tom's got it. So what's the deal with Chris Godwin? He's going in drafts anywhere between the 5th spot off the draft board to number 10. Give me your thoughts on what Godwin can bring to fantasy owners. I mean, really, what's the deal with Chris Godwin? Go ahead, Mikey.
It's this offense. And it's the touchdowns that are going to come from it now. See, the opportunity was already there when they had Jameis Winston, and they were getting him between him and Evans. They were getting targets. They were getting yards. Now they have the GOAT coming in, and I've told you in the last one what I thought about this offense with Brady in place and the opportunity that's going to come. I think Godwin's going to be his main guy, and I just think it's going to explode.
What's explode? I mean, what kind of numbers do you foresee? And I know it was a hypothetical, and I'm sure he's not going to put up Michael Thomas numbers. But I mean, what kind of numbers, honestly, do you think you're going to see?
Honestly, I expect him to hit double-digit touchdowns.
Wow. Are we going to see a lot of catches from him?
Yeah. I mean, he was up in the 80s, if I got that right last.
He had 86 for 1,333 and 9 touchdowns on 121 targets.
Yeah. I think that has the ability to go up.
You like Brady that much?
I love Brady this year.
I mean, I think in terms of Godwin versus Mike Evans, I like Godwin better than Evans.
I like them both.
But in terms of what Godwin does, he's more of the slot guy. He's more go over the middle guy. He's a guy they play using the screen. So I can see why Godwin's better than Evans. But, man, this is the love that I'm seeing from you from Tampa.
I'm glowing.
It's like you had a little Tampa baby, football baby, and you just want to just hold on to it and just love it and score a lot of touchdowns with it, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
what do you think about Chris Godwin, Todd?
I mean, the fact that he's going from Jameis Winston to Tom Brady, a quarterback that 6 rings. You talk about motivation galore. Yeah, I don't know. agree with Mikey on a lot of things. Yeah, his numbers are going to be skyrocketed. There's no doubt about it because
skyrocketed.
Because the fact he's going to have a quarterback that's like, oh, he's not going to throw like 5 interceptions a game, and and still put up those numbers. So yeah, Godwin, yeah, thanks to football.
Let me ask you this question,
Okay.
And this could be for both of you.
Yeah.
Is Tampa Bay going to be a winning team?
Yes.
So will they need to throw 60 times a game?
Yes.
They'll still need to throw 60 times even though they're a winning team?
It's how they're built.
Yeah. And to the fact Tom Brady's going to want to like prove a little bit to the world too that he didn't needs Bill Belichick.
I'm not a big time believer in their defense. So while I think they're a winning team, I think they're a winning team that's going to have to score over 30 a game. Have to.
So do you have – I'm assuming you have Chris Godwin in the top 10. Do you have him in your top 5?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Incredible.
I have him number 5 in mine.
He put up some good numbers. He scored 9 touchdowns in only 14 games. He had 3 multi-touchdown games. Are we worried about Gronk? Gronk wasn't there last year, and it's not like O.J. Howard or Cameron Brady. He put up okay numbers, but if you're saying that Tom Brady's going to come in here and put up these wild numbers, I mean, Gronk's got to be somewhat of a factor, right?
Gronk will just be Tom Brady's kind of safety blanket to some degree in some certain situations. It won't be the Gronk of old where Brady goes to him all the time. He doesn't have to do that. So I think it's just going to be more of a it's just more of a safety blanket where in like the 3rd down and 8s or whatever, some situations where he can get the ball to Gronk, that's when it'll happen. But it won't be like the old Gronk of old where Gronk's getting all the receptions and all that stuff.
I agree with Todd. The elite Gronk is gone. He's now a former 24/7 champion. He's coming out of retirement.
Yeah.
He's still going to be a good tight end, but he's not Gronk of old. You know, he's over 30 and a little beat up.
So Godwin will be the number 1 option for Tom Brady this season.
Yes, but I like him and Evans.
Okay. So let me ask you this about Godwin, just because I'm so amazed in terms of the love for him. But is he a first-round pick? Based on how our league drafts, is he a first-round pick?
Based on how our league drafts, no.
No. Okay.
No, but I think somebody will reach because there's always somebody that reaches on a player to some degree, but Godwin will go 2nd round.
All right, so there's the Godwin love for sure. There's a lot of it. I'm not going to have a chance at him, apparently. All right, so let's keep going with the Seinfeld here. What's the deal with DJ Moore? Here's a guy who has fantasy experts salivating despite his 16th place finish in our league in 2019. He's playing with a brand new quarterback, playing with a new system, so why are those so-called experts saying he could finish in the top 10? Mikey, what's the deal with DJ Moore?
It's another guy I love.
Oh, my goodness.
No.
I agree with the experts. What's wrong with me?
Well, explain to me why. DJ Moore, everybody.
I mean, he had 135 targets last year.
Who was his quarterback last year?
Kyle Allen.
Okay.
So now he actually gets a quarterback that is accurate, which I think is going to help him. Like Kyle Allen was in the bottom part of the league in completion percentage. Now he's going to Teddy Bridgewater, who had he had enough completions would have been in the top 10 in completion percentage.
Okay.
So he's getting a guy that's going to be able to put the ball on the money for him. This new offense that they're bringing in, it's like a spread hybrid type passing system. So I think they're going to pass more than they did last year. The big thing that I like about DJ Moore is he did everything he did last year, finished 16th, and he only had 4 touchdowns. Says a lot. Like, I don't see any way that doesn't go up.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with everything you mentioned, new quarterback, new system, it's just going to come and
better quarterback, better system.
Okay. Todd, you didn't seem too excited about DJ Moore. You want to tell me why?
I have him ranked number 16th in my rankings. No, I just don't see the fascination with DJ Moore. He's a speedster, but only 135 targets last year.
That's not bad.
That's really good.
That's good, but obviously that's the only thing. I don't know.
Is he a good player?
He's a good player,
or a good wide receiver, good athlete, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I mean that was the reason why. That was one of the reasons why he got drafted was because he was such a good athlete. I mean, he's not very tall. He's not Mike Evans by any means necessary tall wise, but only 4 touchdowns last year. I mean, obviously they were, between quarterbacks and everything, but I'm just not a big DJ Moore fan. I don't, I can't, I don't think I can trust him every single week to put up numbers like 10 to 12 points a week.
Mikey's kind of got to look like, I don't know, maybe you'll like those numbers. Here's some numbers. Well, Mikey, it looks like you might want to say something.
Every week, though.
Let me challenge you just on that one thing.
Okay, go ahead.
Go for it.
So 15 games he played last year.
Okay.
11, he was 10+.
10+ targets, right?
10+ points.
Oh, 10+ points, sorry.
10+ points. All right. All right. So, but is it a little bit different when you're really not playing for anything? Because Panthers were just god awful last year.
Only 7 other receivers had that, by the way.
We're not doing MHA trivia over that. We don't have time.
Yeah. No more. That's too much.
If you couldn't get the big dogs, you ain't getting those.
I know, right? Yeah. James Jones. No.
Are we worried about the other options? Now, obviously, he played with McCaffrey and he was fine. But Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, any worries? No, you don't look worried.
I'm not worried about Curtis Samuel.
Are you worried about Teddy Bridgewater?
Or Robbie Anderson?
I'm not worried about Teddy Bridgewater, really. Like I said, he's a better quarterback than Kyle Allen. Like, a lot better. Like, I guess if you want to say, like, am I worried he gets injured? Okay, maybe. But that could go for a lot of quarterbacks. I think his positioning is just better. Like, and I think Robbie Anderson being on the other side is going to help him, if anything.
They do line him up. I just watched some highlights of him today because I was trying to figure out what's the big deal. It seems like they line him up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Slot, left, right. I've seen him. They throw him in wide receiver screen situations. Yep. Todd Wright, he's not the tallest dude, but he seems pretty quick, and he seems like he's got a pretty decent IQ. And just in terms of the moves he makes, in terms of the route running and being able to slip through some of those seams, is kind of impressive.
You know who he kind of looks like?
Who?
Michael Thomas.
Oh, hold the phone.
I don't know if he's got the height that Michael Thomas does, but I see what you're saying there. You're right. In terms of just a couple more stats, he had 11 games with 5+ receptions, and he had 8 games with 10+ targets. So pretty good. He only Mikey mentioned he had 4 receiving touchdowns. 2 of those came in the same game. But we'll see what happens with Teddy Bridgewater. Let's keep going here. Back to the Seinfeld. What's the deal with Adam Thielen? These experts expect this guy to be a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. He missed 6 games last year. He's on the wrong side of 30. He's in a run-heavy offense. Why should us owners be excited to draft a guy who could see a ton of double teams with Diggs gone? What's the deal with Adam Thielen? Adam Thielen, Todd?
Well, I'm actually high on Adam Thielen just because he gets a lot of receptions. Now, obviously last year he was hurt a little bit, and I agree with you. Obviously the fact being on the other side of 30, but I think knowing now that he's going to be the main target, because obviously they drafted Justin Jefferson, but he's still a rookie, and he's more of a slot guy. But I think with Thielen, obviously only 6 touchdowns. They projected him 6 touchdowns this year. I think he at least gets close to 10, just because again it's more of who Kirk Cousins going to trust in that sense. And again, I know when I say that, the trust factor with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers, that just goes a long way when it comes to target shares and who they trust to throw the ball to for, especially like in the red zone and everything like that. So I think with Thielen, 78 receptions, I think he gets more than that. I think he at least gets 80 or 90 receptions. And at least maybe 1,200 yards and maybe close to 10 touchdowns.
I mean, he had 6 touchdowns in 10 games. That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
What do you think about him, Mikey?
I think he's all right. I've got him at a respectable 18 in my rankings. The thing with him last year is he was never really healthy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Nagging hamstring, nagging Achilles, nagging ankle. He just kind of was beat up. So, yeah, he's still going to be the number 1 target in that offense. They move him all around the field. So it's not like just because he's the 1, he's always going to have to face the 1. That's not – he plays a slot a ton. So, I mean, I feel like he's still going to get his matchups. But I don't think he's going to be at that level where he's breaking records. What do you have, like 6 or 7 straight games with 100 yards?
Right.
I don't think he's that anymore. But, I mean, he's still a really reliable guy.
He's close to that. He may not get 100 yards every single game, but he could get 1 or 2 at least.
Sure.
Maybe it's more of a matchup thing with Adam Thielen.
So you say reliable, but you don't think he's got that same kind of game-changing playmaking abilities from just a couple years ago? I mean, he was one of the top 5 to 10 wide receivers not too long ago.
Right.
And that was even with Diggs in the lineup.
So when I say that, I think he's not necessarily a second-round guy like people were probably drafting him to be last year. Maybe he's a fourth-round guy.
Okay. He still did manage, before his injury really kind of got him, he was averaging double-digit PPR points in his first 5 of 6 games. Before last year's injury-riddled season, he had 48 targets last year. He had 153 and 142 the prior year. So the targets will still be up there for Thielen. It just depends on how the offense goes. And obviously that goes a lot with Dalvin Cook, and he's also kind of injury-prone guy. Okay, we'll keep going here. What's the deal with Juju Smith-Schuster? He's a hard guy to predict when he's with Big Ben, and he's put up incredible numbers, top 10 numbers. Is 2020 a good time to watch Juju fall in the draft and become valuable, or kind of an incredible value, or should owners be hesitant when drafting the guy who's only finished in the top 10 once in his career? Todd?
I have him number 14th in my rankings. The injury thing is a big, is a big factor with him, but I mean, obviously last year only 42 receptions and 3 touchdowns, but obviously he was hurt. This year 81 and 1,036. I think it'll be a little bit more because they're going to be a little bit more cautious with him.
Are you saying that number is the projected numbers for this year?
36, yeah. 1,000 yards, 1,036 yards, and 81 receptions.
Is that your projections or someone else's projections?
Somebody else's projections. But I think with him, because obviously it's just the injury prone, because some of these wide receivers on this list, it's just been injuries. Like, they put up the numbers, but it's just the injuries that kills it. And that's the thing you have to be very wary of where you're drafting them, because last year Juju went, in the first round, I think, first round, I think, in our draft last year. And obviously, I think Quayne, picked him up, drafted him, excuse me. And obviously, I mean, got injured, so it wasn't like it was a bust. He just got injured. So with Juju, it's, I don't know, injury-prone wide receivers. It's tricky. It's just really tricky. You really have to have, whether it's a first or second pick, those 2 players you pick the injury has to be a non-factor. At all.
So you're saying that you hope that he falls a little bit, and then you would pick him up as more of a value type of pick? And where would you draft him? Where would you feel comfortable drafting him?
Where would I draft him? I would maybe feel comfortable in the 5th round.
I don't know if it'll last that long. Mikey, I think you had Juju in his amazing season, right? Am I wrong on that?
Yes, I did.
So, I mean, does that make you a little more anxious to take him earlier, or are you hoping he falls and get value later?
I would never let him fall to the 5th round. I've got him in my top 10.
Top 10?
Yeah. It's not his injuries to be concerned with. You had it right. You had it. Injuries is the correct part, but it's the injury to Big Ben that would make the difference for me. When Ben was healthy, he had 166 targets, which is massive.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, 70, when he had to deal with that quarterback crapshoot of Mason Rudolph and Devlin Duck Hodges. It's a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, I'll agree with
you. So honestly,
not garbage,
it doesn't. Come on, Todd. Come on. Don't try and defend it. He's terrible. Look, the talent's there. The big-time playmaking's there. The targets are going to be there. This is all about Big Ben. So is he going to fall? Probably. But I am happy.
How far should he fall? Or where do you think he'll get drafted? And I know it's tough because you're in the middle. You have like the sixth pick. I think you have the 6th pick. So you won't draft him in the first round.
No, I probably wouldn't in the second either. But the upside's worth the 3.
3? Yeah, Juju went from averaging 10.4 targets per game to 5.8 last year. So it's definitely a tough year. He also dealt with ankle, knee, and concussion issues. None of those seem to be lingering with him, at least at this point. So there's Juju Smith-Schuster. One in the 5th round. Mikey saying real early, or maybe even worth it in the 3rd round. All right, one more guy to what's the deal with, and that's back to our boy Julian Edelman. We talked about him a little bit, and if we want to talk about him some more, Julian Edelman, I talk about a guy who's getting no respect heading into this season. He finished 6th in our scoring league last year, had 100 catches, over 1,100 yards and 6 TDs. Experts say he should be drafted as the number 30 wide receiver. Obviously, with Tom Brady out of town, where do you guys think he should go? Mikey, go ahead and go first.
I have him at 38.
38. Whoa, that's way below the experts. No love for Julian Edelman. You don't think he can pile up those same numbers again this year, huh?
No way.
No, not at all?
No, like the Vince McMahon song says, no chance in hell. Okay?
Okay.
The quarterback situation there is a mess. As I've told you, I know you believe that Cam Newton's the lottery ticket and can be the guy. He's no GOAT. I just don't see that Cam Newton's the type of quarterback, if he's the guy, that's going to have the kind of patience to make all his reads and find Edelman that many times. I just don't buy it. I don't buy he's going to be healthy for 16 games straight again.
Julian Edelman or Cam?
Edelman. I think that's an anomaly. In the red zone, that was Brady's guy last year because he didn't have anybody else. Cam's more of a run-it-in-myself kind of guy. Like, I see just negatives everywhere in this situation. I don't want any part of Julian Edelman.
Well, at 38, I don't think you have to worry about that. I'm sure someone in our league will just see the numbers and jump on board. What do you think about Todd?
I mean, I have him at 28 just because I think he brings that kind of that leadership, and maybe if him and Cam can maybe get on the same page on some degree, I think it would work out. But yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, Edelman's got to realize too, Tom Brady ain't throwing him the football anymore. So that's kind of that's kind of my sense on that.
Who else is going to get targets though? N'Keal Harry,
James White,
whoever got targets in a Cam Newton offense.
Christian McCaffrey,
Jericho Cotchery,
Greg Olsen,
Ted Ginn Jr.
I think if anybody's going to get targets, it's going to be him. Now, I don't have him ranked that high, but someone's got to get catches in that offense. They're not if they're going to win 11 games, as everybody says, someone's got to catch touchdowns or at least catch the ball, right? And their defense is terrible based on all the players that are opting out. How are they going to win 11 games? There's my voice going up like Jerry Seinfeld. Like,
well, that's the deal with that.
Who said they're going to win 11 games?
Everybody still says they're going to win the division
because
everybody's still picking, and I know it's hard not to pick them because they won it for so many years in a row, but everybody still says the Patriots are going to win the division.
Look, if they're going to win the division, they're going to do it based on defense and run game, not pass game.
Well, their defense is hanging out at home.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're avoiding the COVID.
So it'll be James White.
I think we're undervaluing him a little bit, but he's not going to put up those numbers. No. But I don't think we can ignore him either. All right, so let's keep going with the Seinfeld model here. And for those who are big fans of the show, do you love him like Tony the Mimbo? Hey, oh, hey.
Yeah, what is it with you and Tony? What are you, it's like a sidekick now?
Yeah, that's right. I like it. He's such a cool guy.
Cool guy? What are you, in 8th grade?
For those guys who remember George's man crush, he was madly in love with Tony the Mimbo. Or do you hate him like the Drake?
Boy, I'm really starting to dislike the Drake.
Hate the Drake!
Gotta hate the Drake. So I'll ask you guys, I'll give you guys a name, and you just tell me if you love him or hate him. And we'll start off with we'll start off with Todd. And the first guy on the board, we know Mikey loves Mike Evans. Look, he's making out with him right now. Yeah, but Todd, do you love or hate him?
I love him. Okay. I mean, just because of the offense and to be honest with you, that's just more of a default. I mean, you put any of these wide receivers, you put CeeDee Lamb, you put Marquise Brown, you put DJ Chark in that offense.
In the Tampa Bay offense, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then it's kind of a default. It's kind of a default one.
Wow.
So
how many games are they winning this year?
At least 12.
I'm not going that far. It's a tough division.
Mikey, why do you love Mike Evans? Is it just all the reasons you mentioned already?
Yeah, plus it's that nice big body that Brady hasn't had since Randy Moss.
As I say, there's a good trivia question. Before Randy Moss, who was who was another big body wide receiver?
So you guys have Evans in the top 15?
I do. I have him at 11.
I have him at 7.
7?
Yeah.
What? So in terms of wide receivers, do you like Mike Evans or Hopkins?
I have Hopkins at 4 and Evans at 7. So
okay.
Yeah.
Where did you say you had Adam Thielen?
I had Thielen at number 10.
You said you had Amari Cooper high. Where is
I
he?
had Cooper at 8.
Okay. Wow. All right. Interesting. Let's move on to the next one. We'll start with Mikey this time. How about Keenan Allen, who's got a new quarterback, new offense? He puts up pretty good PPR numbers every year. Well, that is quite the disgust look on Mikey's face. Do you need a trash can to puke in? Like, what's the problem? You're not a fan of Keenan Allen?
I love Keenan Allen as a player, but this switch is not good for him, especially if they're going to stick with Tyrod Taylor the whole time. I don't like it one bit. I've got Keenan Allen at 26.
Wow. 26? Like, just give me the wide receiver behind him and the wide receiver after him on your list.
The one in front, I have Jarvis Landry. The one behind, I've got Golden Tate.
So now, Golden Tate even? Right, you have been working too hard, haven't you? Should we have just pushed this off? That seems absurd to me, but go ahead. Tell me.
I've seen the Tyrod Taylor offense before. There's not going to be a whole lot of passing going on in this offense.
And he's got it, unless they go with Herbert.
And in the red zone, there's going to be even less passing going on in this offense. This is going to be a lot of him running around.
But he's not a running quarterback.
He is a running quarterback.
Not as much.
Not to the extremes of 300 or 400 yards, maybe a couple hundred. Like, he's going to get sacked more than I think he's going to get.
Let me tell you something about this Chargers offense. It's going to be terrible.
There's going to be a lot of terrible offenses, but there's still guys that are going to be putting up stats at least.
At least with Rivers, he would force feed Allen, and that was always good. This is not going to happen
so
this time.
Are you hoping Justin Herbert comes in and maybe salvages something? Or do you
maybe. That's the hope. But Tyrod Taylor, no, I'm not liking it, not a bit.
Todd. Oh, I hope you have him higher than 26.
I mean, I don't like Keenan Allen as much. I have him at 15. It's like you said, it's just what Mikey said about the offense. I mean, I would say unless Herbert is your quarterback, it's just not going to happen, because if Tyrod Taylor couldn't get it done with OBJ and Jarvis Landry when he was in Cleveland, that's
is that all his fault, or is that system coach not knowing what they're doing over there? And
it's a combination. Yes, I mean, obviously the coaching, the front office and the coaching staff was not exactly
didn't Tyrod Taylor make Sammy Watkins somewhat fantasy relevant
for maybe for a few games?
Was Sammy Watkins ever fantasy?
I had Sammy Watkins, and he had a pretty good second half of the season, if I remember correctly. Yeah. I mean, Tyrod Taylor has never thrown more. Is that even right? 20 touchdowns in a season. He had 17 one year, 14 in another.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of attempts, but I mean, he played 14, 15, and 15. So maybe you're on to something. I don't know. I just feel like Keenan Allen's like a good player.
Take his 15 completions a game, and you know, there you go.
But they're not going to be able to do that. If they're going to be a bad team, they got to throw the ball.
Their defense is okay. They're going to try and rely on that.
But Austin Eckler, you think he's going to come in and run 500 times? And
no way.
That should be interesting.
Austin Eckler's actually the perfect guy for this, because Tyrod Taylor loves throwing to running backs. So there you go. If he completes 15 passes, 10 of them go to Eckler. There's 5 left for Hunter Henry and Keenan Allen.
Wow.
All
right.
Check down Charlie. That's what they call Tyrod Taylor.
A lot of hate for Keenan Allen in that Chargers offense. We'll move on to the next guy. How about Calvin Ridley? A lot of folks are drafting Calvin Ridley as a number 1 wide receiver, top 12. You guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
where do you have him 12th?
I don't have him 12th. I have him 17th.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Are you saying his upside, he can be a number 1 top 12 wide receiver?
Yeah,
he's shaking his head, folks. You can't see the nodding, but his neck is flipping around like a bobblehead right now. Yeah, he is down for some Calvin Ridley.
Now that's more of loyalty, because he was on.
Oh yes, the loyalty.
Yeah, the loyalty. But
Todd's guys will always be Todd's guys.
Exactly, James Jones for life, son.
We're never going to hear the end of James Jones.
We're
going to be like 70 years old sitting at a table doing this. James Jones.
Was that?
Well, no one wants to hear about James Jones. Okay. But they want to hear about Calvin Ridley.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Calvin Ridley?
I like Calvin Ridley just because of the offense that he's in, and obviously he has Julio Jones on the other side. Calvin Ridley can go into the slot a little bit, so that helps him out. He's a speedster, so I think he can put up big numbers in that offense.
I hope there's more coming behind that.
No,
that's all you got. Mikey, can you fill in the blanks for him, please?
Hey, honestly, I feel like his upside could be top 10.
Top 10? Is that where you have him?
Yes.
As a top, like number 10?
No, I have him at number 7, I believe.
Oh, wow. This has been incredible.
Number 7? Wow.
Why so high with other guys that are number 1 wide receivers? He's a number 2 wide receiver. And how many touchdowns is Matt Ryan going to throw? But go ahead, Calvin Ridley.
He absolutely took off. After they made that trade to get Mohamed Sanu out of there, Calvin Ridley down the stretch was just incredible. He was awesome. Like, I big time. I feel like he finally kind of found his groove, and I feel like Atlanta's in the same position they were last year, where they're just gonna have to throw. So no more Sanu, no more Austin Hooper. It's gonna be just Julio.
What's wrong with Hayden Hurst?
This is not a tight end show, and I don't want to have to talk about Hayden Hurst.
He's a factor.
I feel like Jones and Ridley are just gonna go off, both of them this year.
Is this also because of the running game? I know they got Todd Gurley, but we're not concerned that he's going to eat up targets and run for a bunch of yards?
He may, but they're just going to – Atlanta's just going to throw.
Atlanta's defense was better in the second half last year. I think that helped a little bit. But, I mean, they still threw the ball a lot, and I think that's Dirk Cutter's offense. They like to throw.
Yeah. That's a tough division you got to be in, man. That New Orleans offense, that Tampa Bay offense.
Yeah,
but to have him 7th.
I believe in him that much.
Wow. Like, I think he's good. I think he'll put up decent numbers. But unless Julio goes down, I don't think he put up top 10. There's so many better options out there, guys in front of him that are going to have way better opportunities. Wow. Interesting. All right, we'll keep the bus rolling here. I think we're going to crash it here in a bit. The next one I have is a couple of guys, just because they play on the same team, Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Todd, who do you like better, Woods or Kupp? Now, that might be a dumb question.
Yeah.
Because Woods is one of your dudes. So is it Woods?
It's Woods.
Tell me why.
Just because the fact he can they match him up on the field all over the field, I think Robert Woods has more of the touchdown factor. I mean, I know Cooper Kupp has more the reception, and that's the whole point.
Who has more of the touchdowns?
I think Robert Woods.
Oh, yeah, I'm afraid not, my man. Cooper Kupp had 10.
Well,
Robert Woods had 2.
Well,
unless you count that rushing touchdown. He had a rushing touchdown, but
well, Robert Woods was a little bit hurt last year too, as well. So
still played 15 games.
Yeah, but I trust more Robert Woods than I do Cooper.
Just because he was on your team.
That too, but also
I think that's what it is.
It's not. It's not the full thing. I think Robert Woods just has more upside than Cooper Kupp.
But why? I mean, Cooper Kupp had more receptions, more yards, more touchdowns. Why does Woods going to come into this season and have more stats than Cooper Kupp?
I mean, more of a bounce back year too, as well, for Robert Woods.
Just because you're not telling me why though.
Because the year before, when Cooper Kupp went down, it was all Robert Woods, and Robert Woods did everything. So I'd go with Robert.
So you're hoping that Kupp goes down in order for him to be better?
No, not necessarily. But I think now how that offense is now without Todd Gurley there, I think now the ball is going to be spread around a little bit more, and I think Robert Woods, just by a smidge, is going to get. His stats are just going to be just a smidge better than Cooper Kupp.
Where do you have him in your rankings?
Robert Woods, I have.
Exhilarating radio.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm telling you.
This is a lesson for you to have those guys up. You know, we have it in order on the list here.
Why did I have?
While he's figuring that out, Mikey, what do you think about Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods?
For me, they're both top 20 guys, but I have Kupp ahead. I've got Kupp at 12. I've got Woods at 19. Okay. So Kupp I just trust more. I think Jared Goff does too. That's his security blanket, the guy that goes over the middle, the guy he trusts on third down. It's always Kupp.
Do you guys know where Kupp finished in our league last year in terms?
Yes, I do. He finished third.
Third overall. Do you know where Robert Woods finished?
Probably toward the
18th.
Okay. I have Robert Woods number 13th.
Where do you have Kupp?
19th.
So you guys kind of have them flipped. I'm pretty close. I have Kupp at 12 and then Woods at 13. I like them both. I think the Jared Goff tied for the most attempts last year with Jameis Winston. I don't think that's going to change.
I don't either.
We'll see what happens with Cam Akers coming in trying to run the ball. I kind of like Higbee, but, I like these wide receivers a lot. I just think Cooper has that it factor. Just watching him play, it looks like he's got it. In his last 24 games, Kupp has 16 touchdowns. In 13 of those games for 17-plus PPR points. He has 6 or more targets in 18 of those 24 games. He's just a baller. He kind of fell off a little bit late, but I think that's because they were going from that 3 wide receiver set to 2 wide receiver set. Brandon Cooks is gone. Todd Gurley is gone. He could put up similar numbers, and I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Wouldn't bat an eye.
I like Kupp just one spot higher than Robert Woods. Sorry, Todd. I got to push you, man. I know you like the Woods guy, but it's just all these factors. And like I said, it's just one spot, but that's just something to think about. Oh, the other thing about Cooper Kupp, contract year. Watch out for that. You know those guys ball for that contract.
True.
Balling. The next guy is a guy that in the past Mikey's hated. I don't know if he kind of looks like he still does. Tyler Lockett. What do you think about Tyler Lockett? Hate him? You love him?
I don't.
You still hate him?
I'm indifferent when it comes to Tyler Lockett. Like, I kind of feel like he kind of falls into, like, where he's been. I've got him at 23rd, which is respectable. It's not high.
You're shitting all over him, right?
It's not high. It's not low.
Well, you're not going to like my
But to me,
rankings.
he's just one of those guys. He's going to have you winning weeks where he's going to put up a bunch of yards, couple touchdowns. But then he's going to have those weeks where he's just kind of like, nah. So for me, he just kind of falls in the middle.
In the middle.
I'm indifferent.
I'll ask Todd, and I'll ask this question in a second. But you said you're not going to like where you have him?
26th.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah, I like their other wide receiver just a smidge more.
Who's that other receiver?
DK Metcalf.
Okay. Where do you have him ranked compared to Tyler Lockett?
I have DK Metcalf at 22.
Okay.
So
is there a reason why you like Metcalf better than Lockett? Is there something about Lockett you don't like?
Kind of like Mikey said about,
he's just bland. He's just rice.
No, he's a big time playmaker. He's just not consistent.
He's like steamed rice. It's like not a lot going on. You have to put something on it to get the flavor going. DK Metcalf just an athletic freak.
Deep fried Mongolian beef.
Exactly. Some fried rice. No, DK Metcalf just more of an athlete, bigger target for Russell Wilson. That's why I like him a little bit more. And I think his obviously his touchdowns. I like his touchdown upside there as well because he's a big target, especially in the red zone. But also too, just that physical wide receiver that can go across the middle. Lockett's just more of that. He's that speedster, but I just think Metcalf just more of that athletic ability.
Tyler Lockett got hurt after Week 10. He was hospitalized with a leg injury. Tried to play on it later. Really wasn't the same. In a 16-pace season, he would have had 100 catches, 1,300 yards, and 11 touchdowns. That's not exciting? Like, in the first 9 weeks of the season, only Michael Thomas and Mike Evans had more PPR points than Lockett. That's not exciting?
Are you going to account for the fact that Metcalf didn't play a role until the end of the year, and so he should have a bigger role this year?
That Tyler Lockett should have a bigger role? You're talking about DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf should have a bigger role this year, and it's still on a team that doesn't really want to throw the ball that much?
But they still do throw it a lot, even if they don't want to. I mean, Russell Wilson still threw the ball a lot. I don't have that number in front of me, but it's still top 10 in terms of throwing the ball. And if you're going to ask me who Russell Wilson's going to rely on, it's going to be Lockett. Not that I'm saying DK Metcalf's not a good wide receiver, but he's still young. He still doesn't run routes very good. He still drops balls. If you're asking me who I'm going to take first, it's going to be Lockett, and he's going to be the more of the sure thing.
Like I said, I mean, I agree with you, and I don't hate him. It's not like the guys that I have ahead of him are a bunch of, slappies or anything like that. They're not. They're good guys. I mean, receivers kind of.
Where'd you say you had him, 26?
23rd.
That's slapping him in the face.
I don't think so.
You're slapping me in the face when you say that. It makes me sad.
I mean, the guy I have right in front of him is Cortland Sutton. That's
get the man.
Oh, you're not gonna like where I have. You're not gonna like where I have Sutton.
Let's keep going. We talked about this guy a little bit before. Amari Cooper. Todd gave us his numbers a little bit on what he thought of him. Where did you have Amari Cooper ranked?
I had Amari Cooper 8th.
Okay, so we knew that Todd really likes him or loves him apparently. Mikey, where do you have Amari Cooper?
Amari Cooper, I have 15th.
Okay. What do you like about him? What you don't like about him?
Well, I've always had – it's weird. I got this thing with Amari Cooper where I just don't – he's another –
You should know better than everyone else. That fool tears you up when you plays you.
Yeah, but he –
Don't you want him on your team?
He only tears me up when I play him. Every other week it's just kind of like he's good. And he is. He just never quite hits that like I always felt
I
like
didn't look at
him,
your rankings. You sent me your rankings, and Todd didn't send me his, so I didn't look at it. I'm interested to look at your rankings now. Wow.
He's good, and 15th's good, but he's never quite hit that like elite for me. He's just not. I feel like I don't get everything I want, and I feel like them adding CeeDee Lamb. I think there's going to just be more of a share there. Like, I like all the guys that the Cowboys have. I like him. I like Gallup. I like CeeDee Lamb. 15th just felt right for me.
You know who Amari Cooper reminds me of?
Who's that?
Reminds me of Francisco Lindor. And the only reason why I say that, because a couple years ago in our baseball league, I didn't have him on my team. But every time I looked at that box score, man, he was putting up some numbers. And that dude puts up numbers. And it's amazing what he's been able to do from the Raiders to the Cowboys. He's averaged double-digit points in all 25 games he's played with Dallas. I think that screams a lot there. He's still young. He's still in his prime. While there are other options in there, I think Lamb is still a rookie wide receiver. Who was the top rookie wide receiver last year? They didn't finish. It was A.J. Brown when he finished 20th in our league, 21st in our league. So while I think he can come in and get some targets, man, the sky's the limit for Cooper. I love what this guy brings to the table. 11 games with 7+ targets, and they're just going to throw as much as they did last year. So I'm excited for Amari Cooper.
Okay. He's a good receiver. I don't disagree with you.
I mean, yeah, 15's not a terrible ranking, but it just doesn't sound like you're giving her love. After he scored, 4 touchdowns against you last year?
Yeah.
How about Odell Beckham? Now we hate this guy, right? Like, what's positive about this guy? He's still incredibly talented, plays with passion, but can he be a guy that can get back to where he was when he was with the Giants?
Yes. Like, it's weird. Like, for as bad as he was last year, he just didn't have, like, any, like, really big breakout games last year. He was still kind of consistent. You know, he was over 10 points 10 times. He just never kind of had, like, that breakout Odell game. So I think that they've gotten rid of some of the dysfunction that was there. I actually think that this year Odell he's not going to get back to that ridiculous level he was at. But I mean, I have him 13th.
That's pretty high. It's pretty high. Todd, what do you think?
I have him at 12, so just one spot above. I think the same thing. I mean, with Odell Beckham. Should I say that 10 times?
Please don't. We don't have enough time.
I know. Well, I'll just say OBJ. There we go. OBJ. You know, with him is just kind of make sure he's not. He's happy. Just target him enough times and everything like that. Because I think Baker's not a bad quarterback by any means necessary, but I think when Odell Beckham doesn't get his way sometimes during a game, he goes and picks a fight with a net. So you just hope he can just if he doesn't get targeted on every single play, or doesn't get a touchdown pass when he was clearly open, then I think, like he said too, is just getting all those distractions away. I think that'll help him. So. He's got the talent. There's no doubt about that. We've seen the talent. OBJ's got the talent like nobody's business. But again, up in the noggin there, it's that affects his play. That affects his play when he starts whining like a little baby.
Last year, he had a career low in receptions per game, yards per game, catch rate, and touchdown rate. He was dealing with what he called a core injury, which required surgery afterwards. He's now in an offense that says, based on things I've read, is that they want to run the ball. And they have 2 incredible running backs. Beckham did have 133 targets. He did play in all 16 games. Are we concerned about the running game and the targets lower? I mean, Jarvis Landry requires a lot of targets and still there. They paid a lot of money for Austin Hooper to come in and get some targets. Those running backs can catch. Are we concerned that 133 is unattainable for Odell Beckham?
I think if OBJ is a team player, then yes, I think
that's not what I'm asking. This is a fantasy show.
But I'm just saying. but I'm just saying if he can. But I'm just saying if he can.
If you're going to have him 12th or 13th, you better hope he gets through 133 targets or more.
I think he could have less targets but more catches.
So you're saying with Baker Mayfield going to be a super accurate quarterback this year?
No, I'm saying that the offense is going to be more efficient. And because of their really good run game, he's going to get more open looks.
Does that mean more touchdowns, though?
I think so.
All right, so 12 and 13. I have him 18. In terms of another guy who has problems staying healthy, good old Will Fuller. He has missed 20 games in the last 3 seasons. They've added Brandon Cooks to the mix, and there's a bunch of other receivers that kind of play similar to him. What do you guys think about Will Fuller? Now, Todd, you had him on your team, didn't you? Last year, you traded for him. Is that correct?
Yes, I traded for him, and then
how was he after that?
Not very good. Not very good. He had one. He had one good game for me. One good game where I think he had scored me like 20 points. But no, I mean, obviously I have.
Isn't that the epitome of Will Fuller? 20 points or 0.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, that's what you're gonna get. I mean, there's nothing in between for Will Fuller.
So he got you 20 points one week. Does that mean he's your boy? Does that constitute?
Yeah, no, not even close. I mean, I have him number 33 in my rankings. No, that does not. No, that doesn't even. I'd rather draft Will Fuller versus a rookie wide receiver. I'd rather do that because at least I know. All right, because obviously you don't know with his injury history with the rookie wide receiver. But I'd rather go with that because you already know what you're getting with Will Fuller. Like you said, either zero.
Do we know? Like when he's out there and playing, Mikey's shaking his head. Yeah. When he is out there and playing, his 16-game pace over every year he's played would be 1,000 or more yards.
Yeah, but
he's got to get to 10 games.
But he's got to get to 10. I agree. But, I mean, could this be the year? DeAndre Hopkins is gone. That's 150 targets. And then you have guys like Brandon Cooks, and you have Kiki Qt, and then you have
Jordan Thompson.
Sure. That's
okay.
No, that's not the guy I was thinking of, though.
Oh.
Who's the other guy?
Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb's in that mix, and there's also Kenny Stills in the mix, right?
But Kenny Stills is also injury prone too.
Sure, but I mean, if this is the year for him to break out and do anything, there's no one else. David Johnson, maybe?
Yeah.
So is this the year for Will Fuller, Mikey?
No.
No? He's not going to
Let someone else take the risk. It won't be me. He's at 61 in my rankings.
61?
I'm staying away.
What? Mikey Renault, you're not getting enough sleep at night, my man. You need some help. 61? Like even the thought. I mean, I have him 36, but around him is like Deebo Samuel and Darius Slayton. So I'm willing to take a risk just to see if it happens. Because if it happens, even if it's half a season, if he's putting up these ridiculous numbers when he's in, you got to take the chance, right?
Y'all can take his 30-point game on the year. Try and figure out which one it is. Good luck.
He's still a young man. There's still a chance he could go out there and put up big numbers.
It's not a problem I'm interested in having.
But 60th, Mikey, you would take Larry Fitzgerald over him. He's my last ranked wide receiver. I think I'm having 56.
Just barely.
Come on, man. Let's just keep going.
Eric's always loved Will Fuller, though.
No, it's not. I mean, when he's out there, he's great. But I mean,
the problem is
he's a guy that you take a chance. It's like a rookie. Like, he's never done anything in the NFL, but you're going to he could break out.
No, he's the figure out which way to play him guy.
I wouldn't want him as my number 1 or number 2.
No.
But I mean, if if it's your number 3, I mean, I wouldn't want him as my number 3, honestly, but if he's a guy that's late in the draft and he's still available, he could be the number 1 offense with Deshaun Watson.
I feel like you're playing that ABBA song in your head. Take a chance, take a chance, take a chance, take a chance.
There's something – you always tell me to take chances in fantasy sports. You say I'm Mr. Safe. Isn't 60 just –
60
not giving a crap?
60 ensures I don't take him.
That's for sure. What do you guys think about T.Y. Hilton? Do you think he's being undervalued this year? He's got Phillip Rivers on his team. Great offensive line. He's probably still the best receiver on that team, unless you think Paris Campbell is the next guy. Where do you guys have T.Y. ranked? Mikey, we'll start with you this time.
You sure?
Oh, God.
This has been the wildest show
I don't like him.
Okay. Well,
I
tell
don't like
me
him
why.
one bit. I got him at
61.
I got
62?
him at 41.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Well, tell me why.
I feel like he's at the end of it. Like he's done.
At 31 years old?
Yeah, he said he's considering retirement already. I've heard that from him.
You guys are buddies? He called you on the phone?
He's another guy where it's just like boom or bust every week. It's like I don't want it. I don't expect Rivers to last the full season.
Why?
There.
He hasn't missed a game in like 14 years.
Dude's old.
So what? He's not as old as Brady, and you're jerking him off before the show starts.
Yeah, well, the difference with Brady is I don't expect Brady to throw 20 picks.
He doesn't throw 20 picks every year. He still throws for 4,500 yards. Someone's got to catch those yards.
You'd think. I'm down on Phillip Rivers. I'm down on T.Y. Hilton. I'm down on the Colts.
God, that's unbelievable. I'm not saying he's going to throw for 5,000 yards, but there's still offense to be had.
I prefer.
Who do you like? You don't like anybody on the Colts. You're staying far away from all of them.
I don't dig the Colts whatsoever.
Todd, what do you think about T.Y. Hilton?
I have him at number 25.
Thank you. Fine. Todd's the reasonable one on this show.
I know that's a shocker. The only reason I say it is just because an upgrade at quarterback for T.Y. Hilton, because he went from Luck that was injured all the time, then Jacoby Brissett. I was not an elite wide quarterback, but I think T.Y. Knowing he's having a quarterback that's obviously kind of toward the end of his career, but at least they can get him the ball a little bit more. And obviously with Phillip Rivers, it was always him and Keenan Allen was all right. He's kind of the safety blanket, and I think that'll help with T.Y. Hilton. So I mean, obviously I don't have him as low as Mikey has him, but I think
Mikey has it buried.
I know, buried.
Like he took a shovel, took time to go outside the backyard, dig a grave, piss on it, and put up a tombstone.
That's very true. And
when he stubs his toe, I'm gonna look right.
He was the number 15 wide receiver just 2 years ago. On 120 targets with a crappy quarterback.
It's a while back.
That's 2 years ago. It's not that far. What are you talking about? Oh, my goodness.
Times change.
We'll see where
we don't live on the past, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, come on now. That's a ridiculous statement. It's only 2 years ago. It's not 10.
Hey, 2 years ago, Andrew Luck was still in Indianapolis Colts.
Come on. It's not even the same thing. Well, let's talk about A.J. Green, a guy who's got a lot of potential. He's up there at 32 years old. He missed the entire 2019 season, even missed 7 games the previous year. Let's start with Todd, because I'm tired of hearing Mikey talk. What do you have? What do you like about? Do you like AJ Green or do you hate him?
I don't like him just because of his injuries. The injuries have just, just kind of really hurt his career, and just dude can't stay healthy. I know it's different now. Obviously, they've got kind of a new regime now, and no, I'm staying away from AJ Green. I think at this point now, if he lasted in the later rounds, like maybe the 8th or 9th round, maybe I'd pick him up. But other than that, I'm not. It's just the injuries. The injuries. I feel like I just don't want, knowing the injury history, and that's goes back with Will Fuller. The injury history is just I just feel like it's just a waste of a pick. I mean, again, it could be a boom or bust pick, but I don't know. Sometimes the boom isn't as big as the bust is, and and it's not his fault by any means, but that's the way it is. And I'm just not a big fan of AJ Green. So
who are the injuries' fault on?
I mean, it's a little.
That's his fault. If
yeah,
anybody gets the blame, it's his fault.
I know it's his fault, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just not a big. Even the Bengals in general. I mean, maybe Joe Burrow, maybe for a bye week quarterback, or if something goes wrong with COVID. So
when did this become the quarterback episode?
I'm just saying, just in general, when it comes to it. So, but yeah, no, AJ Green, that's a big no for me.
What do you think, Miguel? Top 10?
I think that when you drafted him last year, when you did, I think it was like 5th round. I didn't hate the move. I thought it was the right thing to do. Yeah. And if it happens again, I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, he's a guy across his career when he plays that's like friggin' Mr. Consistent. So, like, he's like you said with Cam Newton. He's still the lottery ticket. If he plays, which I have to project that he does, I still think he's a top 20 guy.
So you're saying you have him in your top 20?
I do.
Are you okay? Like, are you smoking weed or have you been hit by a car and I don't know about it? It's so weird. I hope you're right.
I'm just not projecting injuries into this thing.
Sure. In 2017, his last full year, he had 75 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 3 100-yard games. He even had a good pace in 2018. 9 games, 46 receptions, 695 yards, and 6 touchdowns. But really, that's all it really is in terms of injuries. He's always had the talent. Now, obviously, it's different. I guess a little different because Andy Dalton's out of town, and this has been a quarterback for quite a long time. Yeah. So, new quarterback. He's got he has the same offensive coordinator. They have a brand new coach over there. Is that right? They have a new coach, right?
No, second year.
Second year coach. Oh, that's right. So, he hasn't yet to play in that system though, because he didn't play last year. So AJ Green, could keep that in mind as a guy who could be decent for you late. How much time? We've been at this for quite a while. We'll go through these pretty quickly. 3rd-year breakout wide receivers. That's kind of the fantasy football niche, or kind of one of the categories I like to talk about. And this is one I'm actually excited to talk. Not excited, but just curious. Cortland Sutton. He's going in the early 20s of drafts, the ones I've seen. He's going around guys like Keenan Allen, Odell Beckham, and T.Y. Hilton. I'm scared to ask, but Mikey, what do you think about Cortland Sutton?
I told you I had him was 22, so early 20s.
Explain to me why.
Well, I don't think that Drew Lock's going to throw for 35 touchdowns like Todd said, but I do think that this is going to be a passing game that's pretty improved from what it's been over the course of the past 4 years. And I think that he's a big-time weapon that they're going to use in the red zone. But I do have to say this, and I know what Eric's going to do as soon as I say this.
Yeah, it's coming.
I've got Cortland Sutton at 22, but he's my second Bronco.
That makes me mad.
Go ahead, Todd.
This makes me mad knowing you say that now.
I have Sutton in my top 10. I have him at number 9. Yes.
You know what? I'm just canceling the league. I can't do this with you guys. Like, I felt like we were pretty tame in the last podcast.
But this one just go off the rails a little bit.
Top 10?
Yeah, top 10. I think he showed it last year and broke out last year, and I think now with a good decent quarterback now and one, I think Sutton can definitely be that superstar wide receiver. So I'm a 9.
So as a top 10 wide receiver, you're talking someone that's going to be 90 to 95 catches, 1,200 to 1,300 yards, and maybe 8 to 9 touchdowns. Is that what you're? Is that what you're saying? Is he's going to get into that echelon of wide receivers?
I think
on a team that he's never done it. The quarterback has only played 5 games in his entire career as a quarterback. An offensive line that's lost somebody from their starting unit last year.
That's so far-fetched. He finished 20th last year.
That's 20th, and you guys are talking as if he's a top 10 quarterback.
I had him 22nd.
Well, we're talking about Drew Lock, though. That's what I'm talking about, is this offense. Look, you're saying the same thing, though, Mikey, because if you have 2 Broncos in the top 20, like I'm starting to feel like I'm with the lower echelon of fantasy owners who are just so obsessed with the Broncos. 2 wide receivers in the top 22? Oh my. So you're saying that Drew Lock has to be a top 10 guy?
Not necessarily.
Come on, Mikey. To have 2 guys. So you're saying he's going to put up Matt Ryan type numbers because Julio and Calvin Ridley are also in your top 10?
I had them in the top 10. That's different.
So tell me, I mean, is it Judy? Is it Hamler? Who's your second wide receiver? I don't know. Been so flabbergasted by all your answers today. I don't know what's coming out of your mouth next.
Oh, it's Judy. It's Judy.
Why?
I mean, I feel like watching this. I feel like I haven't seen a receiver like Judy come out.
You know how many preseason games he's played in?
None.
0.
None. But let me say something here. Like, A.J. Brown, as a rookie, finished 21st in our league. And he was just like, he finished 21st. Big-time playmaker. Like, to me, when I watch him, like, he's miles ahead of what A.J. Brown was last year. It's not far-fetched at all.
It's far-fetched.
Like, I think we're going to watch Jerry Jeudy put people on skates.
Yeah.
Like, this dude is a route runner. Like, I haven't seen it in a while. Like, it's legit.
Yeah, you haven't seen him in an NFL game yet either.
It's legit.
So
man.
to put him inside the top 22, I don't know where you have him. Where do you have him ranked?
It's a risk. Sure. I have him ranked 20th.
So, I mean, so what you guys are saying is this Broncos offense is going to be a legit elite offense. Is that right? I mean, if that's what you guys project, that's what we project. But I want to hear you say it.
I believe the pieces are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How about DJ Chark? Let's talk about him quickly. What do you guys think about him? He's a third-year breakout wide receiver. That's why we're talking about guys like Sutton, Chark, and Gallup. Go ahead, DJ Chark.
I have him 21st in my rankings. I mean, obviously he'll probably be the main option in Jacksonville. He put up really good numbers last year. Obviously, you never know what you're going to get from Jacksonville, but DJ Chark, I think, definitely has that opportunity to be one of the not elite, but the kind of upper echelon of wide receivers.
Mikey,
steady Eddie. He's the guy I have sandwiching the ice cream sandwich between Judy and Sutton. So 21 for DJ Chark. The offense in Jacksonville is not great, but I mean he gets to keep his quarterback in Gardner Minshew. They had a nice connection. I think he gets enough volume where he sits at 21. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing we've pretty much agreed on this whole show. I have him 22nd. I like his ability. He's got speed. He's got size. He's got strength. He can finish plays. He was a top 5 wide receiver in the first 5 weeks of 2019, so he's got ability. What about Michael Gallup? Mikey mentioned he likes all the weapons on there. What do you think about Gallup?
I have him number 27th in there just because I think he might just get some of the target shares might go to CeeDee Lamb, but obviously Michael Gallup can definitely move up a little bit next to Amari Cooper.
All right, so we're gonna stop there with the third-year breakouts. Maybe we'll talk about Christian Kirk and Anthony Miller on another show. And since we're pretty much over an hour already, just give me one sleeper and one bust. We'll start with the sleepers. Mikey, go first.
Have we
already talked about this?
Well, I mean, he got mentioned once. I mean, Judy's obviously,
there's not even a word for what you're putting him. So
my biggest, but I guess my second one's Golden Tate.
Okay. Give me some quick words about him.
I just like what he did. I mean, he missed the first 5 games of the season last year, but I mean, even with that, I mean, he was 10+ in 8 out of the 11 games he did play.
Did you tell me where you had him ranked?
27th.
Okay. Todd, give me a quick sleeper.
Marquise Brown from Baltimore. I think definitely he'll be his second year in that offense. And obviously that was Lamar Jackson's favorite target last year as well. Has the speed, definitely good in the red zone as well too. So I go Marquise Brown.
I'll just quickly give mine. I like DK Metcalf just based on where he's being drafted. He's a freak. He's had some incredible games. He had a 9-catch, 123-yard touchdown game, 6 receptions, 81 yards, touchdown versus San Francisco. and a 7-catch, 160 yards touchdown game versus Philly in a playoff game. So I like what he brings to the table. Mikey, give me a quick bust, just one.
Just one?
I think Mikey just brought the shock and awe factor today. Like he
he
wanted to rile me up, and he
Julian Edelman was kind of my bust.
Okay.
But, I mean, my other guy is Alshon Jeffrey. He's another guy I think is kind of on his way to being done. A little injury prone at this point. Separation, he just doesn't get it anymore. I mean, I guess he's still the number one option in Philly, but I just don't like him that much.
Zach Ertz number one option.
Well, I mean, of the receivers.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I have him at 40.
Okay.
I mean,
That's fair. What about, give me a quick bust.
Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. Obviously going from a dome to outside. I mean, obviously Stephon Diggs was more of that, that deep threat anyway. And obviously I know Josh Allen likes throwing it deep, but I think Stephon Diggs is going to have a little relapse.
My bust was Terry McLaurin. A lot of guys have him as a top 20 wide receiver. I think that's ridiculous. He finished 30th in our scoring last year. He did have that incredible start where he was a top 14 wide receiver, but then he ranked outside the top 40 after that. All it takes sometimes is a little footage, a little video, and you're good to go on how to stop some of these guys. He does have some pedigree as a third-round pick, but with so many questions on that offense and new system. Ron Rivera is a good coach, but I don't know if McLaurin looks like, even just visually, is he a top 20 wide receiver? I don't think so. I guess that's the end of the show. Kind of glad the show is ending. I think I need a beer after this. My heart is just through the chest. At least, if anything, it was entertaining. Yes.
So we bring
so that'll do it for this episode. We're actually going to take a break, and then we're going to record the running back episode right after this. So I got to calm down a little bit. I'm definitely scared to hear what I'm going to have to – what may come out of these running back rankings here in just a moment. So for Mikey Renaud, Todd Diamond, I'm Eric Lansing. We'll see you next time on the MHA Podcast.